It's me, Tyler Arns, a visionary storyboard artist, filmmaker, and director, bringing stories to life with his unique artistic flair and creative expertise. Welcome to the Downing Cut, Tyler. How are you?
I'm doing well, and that was an amazing introduction. I appreciate that, sir. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you for being on here. We are testing out a new uh, software program. So I've already recorded two other people, and we did that on Teams. And this is called Riverside. So I'm gonna give this a shot and see how this works. So
Okay.
Tyler, you're a man of many talents. I did not know that you were making movies as well and writing them. Tell me about how that started happening.
So that storytelling has always been something I've been in love with. Yeah, you know me, I'm a nerd. Like my art shows that, especially when you see it behind the wall. But yeah, for me, it was something that I've always been curious about filmmaking. I just didn't know exactly how to get around that. And growing up, it was just like, yeah, for me, my mom would literally like on certain days would call my school and say that I'm sick and then take me to the movies. That's how I saw like The Mummy or what's another good that I saw back then. That's the only one I can think
So
of right
she
now,
like
but sticks
she
out because
created a filmmaker then. Did you know you were is that
yeah,
something
she
you wanted to go into? I know you're large in comics and you love drawing and art and everything, but was film even in your mind at that time?
I think film was always in my mind. I just didn't think like the proper way to go through with it. And yeah, growing up, it was just like, yeah, high school, I did everything like, sports and all that. But my teachers always noticed like I was very attuned with like being creative with a pen, whether it's like drawing or coming up with a story. And they suggested I get into trying to do comic books. And then, yeah, I didn't think anything of it at the time, and it was just like, "Okay, I'll think about that." And it's like I had stories in my head for, like, years, especially during high school, and it's like I did my first script I ever wrote, it sucks because it was on a older computer, and I didn't know how computers worked at the time, so when that thing crapped out, I didn't have it saved or anything, so it's like the first story I ever wrote that would have been, like, a full feature. I mean, as a kid, I'm thinking like, "Oh, yeah, this is totally gonna be like the next Pitch Black or something." It was just like and that's all gone. That was 50 pages of creativity I never thought I could do, and I was just like, "And I don't wanna go through this heartbreak again, so I'm done."
So painful.
But, yeah, college came around,
Wait.
and
Once you
that's
lost that story, did you try like rewriting it from memory?
I tried, and it just was not hitting the same way with, like, dialogue or anything, like, the scenes were still there, but the dialogue just was not hitting it for me the way I first
Ugh.
wrote it. So it's just like even like maybe I could top this, like, nah, it wasn't toppable. Well, we might see down the road
Yeah.
because yeah, now I'm just like, okay, that I'm older now, so I know how to do better story structure. And thank God it's the 21st century. We can at least got technology to save anything anywhere now.
So what so I know so for the audience, we know each other because we worked on the movie Cousin and you were the storyboard
Yeah.
artist for Cousin and also the boom operator and then also did a little cameo in the film as well. But I wanted to ask you, so what's your when you looked at Cousin, I know you made the storyboards, what's your process for translating a script into a storyboard? And then are there any specific techniques or tools that you rely on?
So for me, my process when I read something, it's like I think, and the best thing about you is that you not only gave me a script, but you also share with me the photos of the people that you casted. So that kind of gave me a more grounded sense of, okay, I know these people and I know exactly their height, or I've seen them in pictures. It's like, okay. So it kind of helps me with the idea of like, okay, so if this is going to be like a wide shot, this is how tall they'll be in that area. And yeah, for me, when it comes to like all that, it's just like I just doodle at first. Like, doesn't it's not necessarily like, like, okay, this doodle is going to be the entire storyboard, but like I come up with like a I come up with the idea in my head that I'm assuming you would go with realistically, especially with, independent filmmakers. It's like anything can change at any moment. So it's like I come up with the ideal angle that's not super crazy, and I just go from there. And just it's just kind of like a process. Like even watching films, I'm like, the vibe that that movie gave off was, or the script gave off, it definitely felt like something I could see like Robert Rodriguez like shoot these tight angles, which surprisingly he did. So it's like, yeah, coming up with I just think of like movies in general. So it's like, okay, how would this scene look cool visually? And I draw that out, and it's just, it's just crossing your fingers and praying like, okay, hopefully they'll like this and go with it.
Well, it does definitely give us like perspective on an idea, concept, and everything. And there's a lot of times we're like, "Oh, that's great, let's do that," and try to reinvent that. What I know. So here's a lot of things. Whether I guess in this day and age, a lot of people work on tablets, right? And use the tablet to actually
Yeah.
create the art. What tablet are you using, and what software program are you using?
So I use, and it's very ironic because people always ask me how come I don't have an iPhone. I use the iPad. Um, let's see. The first iPad I bought was probably, I want to say 5, maybe 4 years ago. Not 5 years ago, because I was still drawing things on my computer, and at that time it was like, yeah, Wacom. I'm hopefully saying your name right. I don't know if I ever am.
Yeah,
WAC.
welcome.
Oh, and yeah, hopefully I spelled that right too. But yeah, but yeah, like they gave me free software called Sketchbook Pro, and it was just like that's how I started learning how to draw my comics digitally and just draw in general digitally too. And that was a game changer for me. But then over time, it was just like I can't carry my iPad around. I mean, my laptop around everywhere I go, especially if I'm just trying to draw, because yeah, I go travel everywhere with my backpack because I'm always on the go for either a film or just even doing traveling or doing some work. My backpack with so something that was a little bit lighter. I was originally going to go with the I can't not remember the one. I think it's a Windows tablet. I think it's
Oh
called.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Surface.
yeah, Surface Pro. Yeah. So I was gonna go with the Surface Pro, but then that was very expensive. But then I was against like the iPad Air. It's actually around this price that you have. I'm like, okay, I'll take it.
Nice.
Gave it a try, and yeah, for the iPad Air, it was some type of deal because it was probably the cheapest iPad I've ever bought.
Yeah, yeah.
So luckily, it was my first one.
And and then
Um,
also back, Wacom back in the day, you had to connect it to a computer. It wasn't like an iPad, right? So
yep.
that was the main thing.
Yeah,
Was
like
that difficult because you're
yeah,
drawing, but you're kind of looking over at the screen at the same time?
yes. Oh my God, it was so difficult because like you when you draw, it's like your instincts are like to look down and it's like there's nothing there. It's just a completely blank thing that's not gonna get anything like ink wise. So it's just like trying to like focus on the screen while drawing was weird, but that's like over time I treat it like a mouse now. It's like how like when you're using the mouse, it's like you're moving the motion, like you don't need to see down to where you're moving. You just know you're moving the
Yeah.
mouse. So that's kind of like how I treated it with like just like, okay, I see the little dot there. You're my mouse. I'm gonna draw you like that. And over time, it was just like after a while, it was just like it was muscle memory where it's like, okay, this is how I can do
How
this.
did
But yeah, once oh
No,
go
I
ahead.
was going to go to the next question, but how do you balance the creative aspect of it and clarity when storyboarding a complex scene?
I think what helped me, and even if this isn't like with using the cast numbers you gave me, what helps me is like just thinking about like what the actor would be doing in that scene. And what normally helps me most is like I treat scripts like books, like, they're no different than reading a book. So it's like the detail that the writer leaves in general for, I'm assuming, actors, I kind of convey that because it's like, okay, so they will be acting like this. So, like, an example for the scene when you guys did the scene at the drift shop, I cannot remember the name of it.
Ish. Ish.
Yeah, ish. Yeah, so like, and I'm really sad that story's gone. So like, the way you wrote that scene where you have that interrogation, it's like your character when he's getting insulted and these racial insults are thrown at him. I'm like, okay, I can totally see what this guy's reaction is going to be. So it's like conveying that type of emotion while drawing. It's just like I want to make sure that it fits perfectly with how everything's written. So, and again, once again, complimenting you as
Yeah.
a writer, I appreciate you being able to just, add emotion to the characters without having to be like, all right, now you guys are going to act like this. So it's like, I like that type of work because it's like, it shows that you're going, and I see you do it too. So it's like, you're telling them how to act, but you also have it like written down for them, like suggestively, like do this way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like it when writers can actually give me ideas because then it's like it's a lot easier the drawing
Don't
process for me.
most writers do that though?
I suppose, yeah, I don't work with that many. I usually work by myself
Yeah.
mostly, but yeah, uh, I think when it comes to writing, you and Colin definitely do have that thing in common where it's like you give a good balance because you guys understand where actors are coming from. So I think those little details do
Yeah.
help.
Well, thank you. Well, I appreciate you coming on board. What how has your experience as a storyboarding influenced your filmmaking style? Because now you're making films too.
I think what influenced it more was probably definitely just working with guys like you and Colin and a few others. This is being behind the scenes. It's like, doing the odd stuff that you guys would have me do or any like film gig. It's like being a PA, I always think was awesome for me, my first experience working on film because I really got to see everybody in action while still doing my job, obviously, but like being near the directors or the cameramen or the lights, the makeup artists, and sets, it's like being able to grasp every department and understanding what they're trying to do. So it's like my goal every time I do something, regardless of my title, is to make sure everyone is working smoothly as well. So I think for me, when it came to doing storyboards, it's just for me, it was just like nice to like, okay, my own script, I can draw these out. And sometimes I actually do get a portion draw first, then write stuff. That's just my thought
Sure.
process. But yeah, like doing more storyboards for myself is a lot easier and efficient, just for me personally, because like I know exactly how I want the shot. So yeah, the idea of when starting to do films, I sadly did not do storyboards because I'm like, well, it's in my head, and I'm
Oh yeah.
like, that doesn't work when I'm working with others.
Yeah.
But the collaborations I've had with the people I've worked with, and they're all like my best friends. I love them to death. I think it's because we all trust each other and we've all worked with each other. We know each other, and I think that type of work relationship works really well, especially when you're doing film, because like we all have like the same ideas and the same goal and passion. And it's like it just clicks. I think that's one thing I do enjoy. It's like when I can actually click with people, it's like I know exactly what you're going to say and do, so I'll do my section and help you out the best I can.
Awesome. What so I mean that kind of leads into the next question about your creative differences between being on set, between storyboard vision, and then the actual filming process. But I think I know a lot of directors will storyboard themselves. It's easier because just like what you said, it's in their head, right? And they just know exactly the shots.
Yeah.
So and it's for reference, but I think it is more of a service for the actors to kind of see and visualize and help them imagine what they're going to be doing, right?
Oh yeah.
How do
Totally.
you how do you maintain your artistic inspiration and creativity in your work?
Not to sound very childish or naive, I just like to treat everything fun. And I feel like for me, when it comes to like doing this stuff, it's like we make films. This is like supposed to be the funnest thing in the world. And it's like, don't get me wrong, like I'll take everything seriously, but when I'm able to actually be comfortable with people, I feel like, okay, they trust me, I can do what they are asking me to do because they know I can do it. So like, yeah, working with you. this was actually our first film where you're basically the captain of the ship. So
That
it's
was my
like,
first time, yeah.
yeah, and you did a great job.
Nice.
And for me, it was just like, yeah, get knowing you and talking to you beforehand, I felt a little like there was a little bit of trust there, and I think that's what was helpful. Because yeah, once again, it's like I met you on a Collins short film that he did.
Which one was that? Was that the one where I played a cop? Yeah,
Yes,
okay. I do remember that. Yeah.
yes, and it's like I felt like our conversations have always been pleasant from then to now. And it's like when you told me that you were doing a film, like I'll totally do your storyboards because you're awesome. And I
And you
totally
did more.
want to support you. Yes, I did
You
more,
were the boom
and I
operator,
think I was the boom operator and
ATF agent.
DEA, ATF
Yeah.
agent, and
DEA.
yeah, storyboards. It was DEA. Yeah, it. Now I think for me, this also leads back to why I said like I treat everything like it should be fun because it is, and it's like you definitely made that whole experience fun. Like yeah, there were some stressful moments, but it's just I think that's always when it comes to filmmaking, that's always going to be there. But it's like as long as you're working with a crew that you know you could
What did you
trust
find?
and have a
What did
good
you
time.
find stressful? Without naming names.
Oh, I'm just talking about. Oh no, not your stuff.
Oh,
Just in
I was
general,
like,
like
there's stressful
yeah.
moments on my film. What?
No, like in
Yeah,
general, not
yeah,
your film. Your film was not stressful. I mean, drive was stressful because I just don't like driving long
yeah.
distances.
That's always the commute for sure. So when it comes to your creativity and your work and art, what how do you like tell me about your visualization and then how it enhances your storytelling in like film, because I know you have art and you do comics. Do you ever feel like, I guess some examples, without going into like CGI or AI, but you
Yeah,
draw comics, you draw in a certain way, which you probably will translate into your storyboard. But then when you go to create a film, how does that translate? Are there things that are limitations for you, or do you feel like you're just like, oh wait, this is real life. Here we go.
there are definitely moments where it feels like there's limitations, and I think for me, it's like the way you told me how everything was going to be for the script and where you were going to shoot that. It gave me some ideas, but there are some times where it's like, yeah, you're just given like a script, and it's like go at it with your imagination. I think for me, when it comes to drawing comics versus drawing storyboards, I can literally draw like, the comic to be like some type of insane Fast and Furious style stunt where they're just falling out of an airplane. And it's like realistically, yeah, we're probably not gonna have that type of budget to
Yeah,
do that. So it's
even
like
in your own films,
so it's
though.
like, oh yeah. That's why it's like I love I feel like for me, comic books are my scapegoat where it's like, yes, I have $100 million idea for a CGI slugfest, but like yeah, I don't have that money, so I'll just draw it out exactly the way I would want it to be. So off chance it does happen, I can film it later. Hopefully that's the crossing your fingers with adaptations. But yeah, like when it comes to like doing storyboard work for films, it's like I obviously know everything's gonna have to be grounded in realism as much as possible. So yeah, and I think that's the one thing I like about scripters, like the interior, bathroom, kitchen, where etc. Like anywhere. It's like, okay, I obviously get the idea where the room is going. It's going to be in a room. So we'll just go ahead and just imagine what that will be. And it's like if the filmmakers are fine with the storyboards and accept them, cool. But if they ask me like, well, this is the place we're going to do it, it's like I will totally tweak it to make it match how you're going to shoot it in that room.
Interesting.
So I think for yeah, it's like for me, I'll totally in that person when it comes to like doing work, it's like, yeah, I'll come up with an idea of how it will be, but if there's like off chance that I know ahead of time where I'm going to be, like where we're going to be making the film at. It's cool to actually have a visual, so it's like, okay, I can totally illustrate it to storyboards and make it fit this living room this way.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it's yeah, it's tiny details that just help me out as a storyboard artist. Because then it's just like, then it's like, okay, so you already know where you're going to be location wise, anyways. Just send me the pictures, and it's like I'll draw over those
Yeah.
almost just to get the idea and grasp.
Right. Like we did with the Airbnb, right? When we took photos of those and we sent
Yeah,
them over to you. What? So
yeah.
how I didn't know that you were actually directing and making movies and writing movies. I didn't. How long have you been doing that?
Probably since 2011,
Okay, so quite a
because that's
while.
when I started.
Yeah.
Like, I had education in theater when I went to college, and I learned how to direct from there. So it's not like I just was like, oh, I'm gonna decide
Did
to
you
do it.
act as well?
Yes, I did actually,
I didn't know that
and it
about
was
you.
into it. It was just funny. I wanted to do that because it's like, okay, this will lead to filmmaking. And because, like, actors, it's like they're either going to do theater or they're going to do films.
Yeah.
And it's like, at the time, I thought maybe I'll transfer to a film school, like the Seattle Film Institute. But then, yeah, the moment directing course happened, I was like, okay, so now I'm going to learn how to do things behind the scenes.
Mm.
And I genuinely fell in love with that more because I like the idea of being able to look at everything from the outside in and just like, yeah, there was definitely my experience working on going doing college theater where it's like I fell in love with doing behind the scenes work, like helping build sets or the casting
Yeah.
process. It's like you get to experience all that doing theater, so it's like even down to the lights of how you want your scene to be for like your one act play or the play like a scene that you directed. It's like and just being able to communicate and collaborate with people that are in the same boat as you, it felt like a very comforting thing. Like definitely almost parenting in a sense.
What?
I'm not.
Yeah. What kind of advice would you give to someone who's an artist who's looking to transition into the film industry or into film and start doing making their own?
I would first thing I would say is definitely don't listen to others if they give you like that. Don't do this because it's not going to lead to anything. That if I took my advice that I or the wisdom I have now back when I first started this, it's like everything everyone said. It's like you guys can go kick rocks because I'm totally going to do this because it's something that I have a passion for and I want to follow through with it. And I think for me, it's definitely getting your foot in the door. It's like I think theater is a very major step, even if you do it in college. If you didn't do it in high school, that's fine. Doing it in college, they are not that those type of classes, they're not the ones to push people away because when you're looking at how things are going now, it's like budget cuts and all that. Yeah, they don't see a reason to have theater, so it's like you're going to see those places go away, and it's like, yeah, the theater that I went to Highline College. They don't even have a theater department anymore. That's just like
Wow.
that sucks
Hmm.
because like I definitely feel like had I not done that, I probably would not have had the luck or the connections that got me into films.
Yeah.
Because yeah, theater is definitely a doorway to more, and I highly recommend anyone that has a passion for it do it. But if you also have a passion behind the scenes, like working a camera or editing or doing storyboards, there are classes and there are like people that are out there. I just think that yeah, there's definitely opportunities as long as you know that you want to do it, and I highly recommend that people take it if they
So to get some
want it.
education, take some classes.
Yeah.
Okay. What? Knowing that you're a director now, can you share your directing experience and how you get the best performance out of actors?
So for me, my first time directing, that was just me just like, you know what, I can do this. And then realizing it's definitely a lot harder because it's like, oh yeah, this is more intense now because like I now have people that trust me with the story I wrote. And now I have to make sure that these locations do not slip through the cracks or lose a out exterior shot because like, the owners don't want me to film there anymore. Because that has happened. Not, I got lucky. It didn't happen on the first film I shot, which was in Ocean Shores with my friend Matt Seifert. He amazing photographer, and if you ever go down there, he is the one to talk to. But yeah, like working with him, uh, yeah, we got lucky because he just recently moved out to Ocean Shores back in 2011. So it's like the people that he knew out there, they own like a kite shop because, that's all they do down there is fly kites and also just hang out with the community. And it's like, so it's like being able to have like the connection with that person who runs the kite shop there. He had an amazing garage. So it's like the scenes that involve all car guiding scenes, and that's where I just got creative. I used his garage to shoot like the interior scenes for the car scenes and did very old school like recorded the footage ahead of time and then transferred it to a projector and then just shot it with the background of the car, like the outside car moving while they're just doing this. Like they're acting out their scenes in the car. It's just like definitely when you're in the director's chair, it's like you have to think outside the box of anything possible that if you can do it, shoot it.
Yeah.
So that first experience, I learned a lot about myself and also just being able to trust the people that I casted or it's helped me behind the scenes because yeah, there was moments where it's like that I kept getting asked questions and I'm like, can you just trust me that the scene will work?
Oh,
But it's
so
like
were they scared?
they were it wasn't more scared, it was just more like, well, how come this is like this and that? I'm like, well, it's because of this, and it's like explaining that, and it's just like for me, yeah, first time that was an experience, and it was just like, okay, I have to now remember to know exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing, so that way it assures others like I'm not just talking out of my butt right now. I
Yeah.
understand the concerns. Just trust me that everything will go well because I yeah, it's all like pre-planning after pre-planning. So it's like making sure that the locations are set and the cast is already set. I feel like for me, my process is like I like to try to get the locations unlocked first, and that's normally just like knowing the people that live out there, and that's the part that I was really appreciative of. So that's what helped me out. So it's like pre-production for me is like trying to get the sets locked first, so that way it's like, okay, these are good. Now it's time for the cast to finally come in and see everything going down. And I think for me, it was like, yeah, that whole time was just like very like learning experience, like each day. And that was the best 4 days of my life. I can say that for sure.
Do you think because you were over there, I mean, these are your friends, so you're getting the best performances because they're your friends, or are you getting them based
I
on the environment that you're creating for them?
It was mostly based on the environment I was creating for them and the storytelling, the story itself. And the for me, that was like the shocker was like out of the entire cast, there was like only two of my friends that no, three of my friends that worked on it, and then the other group were actually local actors. So
Nice.
when they read the script, it was just like, oh wow. So I actually got people that are outside of my circle. So for me, it was just more making sure that they were comfortable with everything that went down. And I was very happy that they had no complaints. So yeah,
What happened? What happened
I
to
think for
the
me,
finished product?
the finished product, it came out and it got a lot of good reviews, not like critically, but like
Yeah.
feedback from friends and like local filmmakers. And it's like for my first time, yeah, at the time it's like, yeah, for what I did it for, it was like, yeah, it came out perfect, especially since it was like maybe under ninth of the dollars because it's like
Oh,
from the hoteling.
oh yeah, the
Yeah,
hotel. Yeah. Do you ever go back?
yeah. So
Do you go
like,
back and look at it and go, "Wow, I've come a long way"?
oh, I still go through and I'm like, okay, I can do that better. I can do this better. Like as soon as like I got done with the first cut, I was like, I can totally do this better now.
Well, yeah, but
Like there
it's a
were,
learning process, and that's your first film,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and that's the thing that I love about it. It's like if it every time you do a anytime you do a film, and I feel like as an actor and filmmaker yourself, it's like everything's always like a learning process. And it's like you take something new each time and you just use that new tool that you use in the last one to work on this one. And it's like I feel like we always get better as time goes by with every project we do.
100%. I think that's good advice right there. Is when for people who are looking to become any kind of artist, filmmaker, director, actor. I think part of it is just don't worry about being perfect in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Just go for it, and you'll continue to grow and sharpen your saw, and and get better and better. I mean, and I go back and I look at some of the first stuff that I shot, which was on a phone. Uh, and you go, wow, I've come a long way, right? Because back then you're
Oh
like,
yeah.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just going to do it and see what happens.
It's kind of awesome how that happens because like I think for me it's like there's always that uh moment of lots of work going into doing what we love. And then there's also those moments of like, I don't want to say it's luck, but it's like sometimes it's like, man, how do we get that shot that well?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, it's definitely one of those moments of being lucky and blessed, I feel like, because like, yeah, when it comes to filmmaking, it's like as long as you have fun doing it, just know always remind yourself you can do better. And that's not taking a jab at what you already did. It's just like if you feel like there's something that you could have done in that moment, I can promise you, you can do it in the next one.
What what's your genre that you usually do? I mean, I think the last one that you actually won a film festival award. The last one I think was a horror. Was that right?
Yes, it was. And my genre, I feel like my drama is like dark comedy and thriller. Because, yeah, my first short film was definitely like a thriller and horror. And I feel like the reason why I like doing scary movies is because they're just so fun when you watch them on screen and you're like, God, how did they do that? So for me, like, yeah, movies like I think for me, I like the idea of scary movies because you can go all out on them as far as like being very not offensive, but like shocking or something that just catches you without realizing it. It's like I think for me, some of the best filmmakers have done horror movies, like Sam Raimi.
Right.
People nowadays they'll consider him the director of Spider-Man or Doctor Strange, but like for me, growing up, that guy made Evil Dead
Yeah.
and Drag Me to Hell. So it's like those type of movies that I think for me it's like when it comes to scary movies, when you look at the behind the scenes, they were given almost like shoestring to no budget at all, and they had to be very creative. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you don't really see body parts fly anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just the idea of how they shoot them, shoot the angles and everything to make your imagination go wild. I think that's what I admire about horror films is that they'll make your brain feel like, oh, there's someone in my closet right now.
Right.
So for me, it's like when you see filmmakers like Sam Raimi go from like the Evil Dead to slightly going into the superhero route with Darkman starring Liam Neeson, whereas like he wanted to make his own Batman movie, they said no, so he's like, fine, I'll make my own superhero movie. I love that mentality where it's like, okay, so you're not going to let me do what I want, so I will do it myself. And it's like I feel like for me, when it comes to filmmakers like that, it's like they definitely push like the envelope with like always betting on yourself because they have that passion and drive. And it's like I feel like for me, when it comes to people like him, he's definitely one of the people that I admire as a filmmaker and director and writer. And it's like, yeah, his style of storytelling I've always found amazing. It's like it doesn't matter if it's a low budget or big budget. It's like he'll try to keep things practical. I mean, outside of obviously Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, or Doctor Strange, but like there's something that feels like he had a hands-on with that feels just like he did Evil Dead, which it's like, okay, I admire that.
So do you ever have like writer's block when you're trying to come up with a movie or a film that you want to write? And then how do you, if you do, how do you keep it fresh? Like with all the number of movies that you're making, do you try to make something similar or do you just try to go something completely different to kind of give that fresh perspective for yourself?
I try to go with something completely different just because for me, and this was an old habit of mine, I just write scripts. I don't even think about like the plot that much. It's like obviously the plot's in my head, and it's like I'll go with that inception and then just work from there. Because I feel like for me, it's like I can't shock myself if I don't know if I already know what's going on. So it's like I'll just write it completely blank, and there will be rewrites, obviously. But like the first few drafts that I do is just like some of them are just from the top of my head, where it's just like things I just keep thinking of like scenes and stories, and then it's just like I'll pluck it and just start typing it just to see where it goes. And for me, it's just like, yeah, uh, a good portion of the scripts that I've written have always been like something personal of experience that I just put in there, but just like I'll just go overboard with it. And you know, my first short story was about it's called Road Killers, and it's about two guys driving. And it's like, yeah, normally for me, it's just like I'm usually in the car with my buddy. We're just driving, talking about like hitman movies. And I'm like, man, it'd be cool if we were like hitman right now doing something. And it's like, okay, I'm saving that for later. But the last one I did, it's kind of surprising because it is a horror film. Uh, that actually came about from a breakup. I was seeing someone, and uh, the way things went, it was just like I felt like it was my fault, and I just was like, yeah, I wrote it in a horror story, so it's like the monster is technically me killing the relationship of two people. And it was just like, huh, that was an interesting way of dealing with that,
Ooh, like therapeutic.
and it really was. And it's like people that were involved in it, they loved the story, and it was just like, this is great. And it's like I feel like for me, when it comes to like making a story or drawing, it's like there's always an emotion there that it's like it can be the dumbest thing or the most traumatic thing, and you can use that in a way that you can express it with like how I draw my certain characters, like they're expressing certain moments of me where I'm just like been frustrated with like say work or trying to catch up on some bills. And it's just like that urge to just want to punch something. It's just like, I'm just drawing a scene of this guy decking the hell out of somebody because I need to express that some way.
What the so this is about the last film that you created, right? The one that you just you won an award for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where can people see this film? What's it called?
Uh, it's called Beware the Thing That Comes Out at Night. Um, you can find on YouTube. I really was like, when I came up with the title, it was just like, Beware. And it just kept rolling. And for me, it felt like kind of like one of those inside jokes. It was like long title, short film.
So it's on YouTube. Okay, we'll link it then if it's available. I'll link
Yeah,
it in the description. Okay.
absolutely.
If you had to pick three directions, all right, acting, storyboarding, directing, which one did you choose? If you could only pick one for the rest of your life.
Ooh. I probably would have to pick directing, and I love to draw.
Interesting. I wasn't thinking of that. I thought you would pick the storyboard artist. But directing, okay.
I think,
Why?
I mean, well, I mean, mostly because if we're gonna go with the whole picking, if I ideally if I just had a budget of 10 movies that I could just like do it anytime, any place, I would totally do it. But I think for me, the thing I like about directing, especially working with people like you or my friends, it's like there's a very big creative pool that you can do from that point, from that area where it's just like people let you know, and people that in every category from acting to producing to set design to craft. It's like there's so many people that as a at like for example for you, you know someone in each of those categories, and it's like you know who they
Yeah,
are.
I'm crafty
You
right
conversate
here.
with them,
I was a craft service guy.
so you
I
know.
do know.
And it's yeah, so it's like you know those people, you know that they're good at it, and it's like it's just more taking a chance where it's just like, hey, I have this script. If I'm planning on filming it soon, but if you're interested, just let me know. And I think for me, it's just like when you make those type of bonds and connections with people, it's like, okay, so you and I click very well. I know you and my friend will definitely click very well because you both have the same passion for acting or doing film behind the scenes. So it's like when you actually have that type of circle that you could go around, and it's like if you don't know somebody, they'll know somebody. And I think that's the part that I just love about it, where it's just like, yeah, we all did not know each other that well when we worked on Cousin, and it was like now it's just like I can't wait to see these people again. So it's like I like the experience where it's just like being a director is like you can help build connection and build more
So
bridges that way.
sounds like to me you're a extrovert. Is that
Yeah,
true?
which is ironic because yeah, I'm more, it's definitely like, I like, for me, when it comes to my creative process, like writing and drawing, I'm an introvert. Like, I'll just be
Yeah.
by myself. It's like, yeah, that's cool. I'll totally hang out, but I'm gonna do this for a minute, so just let me be.
But that's
But like, once it's,
yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying though, is because when I thought from you being an artist and knowing that you do storyboards and you do comic books, and I've seen your work and it's amazing, I would think, the bias in us goes, oh, he's an artist. He's probably quiet. He's probably an introvert. But the fact that you picked directing over the artwork was like, oh, okay, yeah, he wants to do this because of networking. He wants to meet a lot of people and have that camaraderie, the family feeling, the team feeling. Let's
yeah,
go and make something. Let's make something good.
yeah, and that's always been me, where it's just like, it can be something that's very small from like a 5 minute short film to a music video to a full feature. It's just like, I'm always game to go because like as long as I know the people I'm working with, it's like I'm already know that things are gonna be like I'm gonna be comfortable. They're gonna know they know me and I know them. So it's like I think for me when it comes to like, yeah, the whole directing aspect is just like it opened my eyes when I first did it in theater. And then actually doing it with people that are local filmmakers and actors out here, it's just like it's an amazing experience and it's very humbling to be trusted with your imagination on paper.
Yeah.
Because like for me, yeah, growing up for me, like what got me into drawing in the first place was and people always ask me this, like, where did I learn to draw? It's like Harold and the Purple Crayon.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like that book opened my eyes where it's just like,
Weren't they
okay, so this guy,
weren't they making a movie? I thought they were making a movie on
yes, they are making a movie that's
it.
coming out this year. And yes, I'm going to be a grown adult buying a ticket to go see that movie.
Oh yeah. Are you
But yeah, like
yeah. That was
it's kind of ironic
It was
though. It's like
amazing
I love how
because you just he would
yeah,
just imagine whatever he wanted, and then he would draw it, and it
yeah,
just opened the floodgates. You're like, anything's possible.
yeah. And it's like that's exactly where my brain went as a kid because I'm like, okay, this all this stuff just happened. It's like, yeah, I drew on my walls and my mom was very upset with me. But she's like, this is very great, but stick to
You
paper next
drew on
time.
your walls because of the show?
No, because of the book.
Oh, the book. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't, this was before it actually became a TV show as well,
Yeah,
the cartoon on PBS.
yeah.
So like it was like, yeah, pages. I'm like, okay, this is awesome. I'm gonna draw on my wall now.
That's
I'm
hilarious.
gonna make a T-Rex a race
Oh my
star.
gosh. So you get a book for your kid to start reading books, and they just use it as an example to start drawing on everything.
Yeah. I'm sure like that wasn't their intention, but I'm just like this kid can draw something with a crayon that comes to life. I'm doing the same thing.
So, how do you stay updated with the latest trends and techniques in the industry? I mean, obviously,
Oh,
story like, are you ever going to get into previs?
I I'm on the fence about it. I'm kind of comfortable where I'm at right now. I think once I start to see something take momentum, I'll give it a try. And it's like I'm never one to say like I'm going to not do it, but at the same time though, it's just like, yeah, I'll if I'm not really feeling how it works out, I'm just gonna stick with what I do. And it's like for me, when it comes to doing like other stuff like that, it's just like unless it's called for, I don't think I'll ever do it. But as long as people like what I do, that's all I care about. But if there's ever like a situation or a moment where someone's like, "Hey, I think this might like help build your skills," it's like I'm always down to learn, but I'm not gonna say like, "Oh yeah, I'll totally not do this." It's like I'll give it thought and then actually take the time. And if I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't.
What did you edit your film on?
I edited my film on Adobe
Okay,
Premiere
Premiere.
Pro.
Okay,
Yeah.
very
Uh,
standard answer. I'm sure a lot of people are going to answer that question
you,
that way. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure too. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's other great editing softwares out there, but I think for me the go-to has always just been Adobe. Uh, I I think for me, I'm that person that once I start using some type of software or tool, I'm just comfortable with it.
yeah,
And with Adobe, it's like that's all I edited with helping make music videos while I was interning up in Everett for this record film production that also did music.
nice.
So it's like uh my friend Matt Cypher again with MTP Studios uh learned a lot there, and it's like first thing I learned how to edit was on Adobe, and it was just like it definitely felt like I was in control. It was just so weird being able to just like look at things from like from footage that I seen other people do, and it's just like, all right, let's see if you can try to match how they can do that. It was
You-
just like the learning process was they showed me how to do things here and there, and then they also just was like YouTube tutorials. You can learn from there, and then
Yeah.
uh, I was also given like a book on editing, so it's like it's definitely like a lots of skills learned in a short amount of time, but in a way where it's just like most of it was just like I did read the books, I did do the tutorials, but most of it was just me just like clicking the mouse, just like seeing where what everything did. And I think for me, when it came to the Adobe Premiere Pro, it's just like, yeah, I just got comfortable with it, and I just like use it. Now I do on some occasions if there's like stuff that needs to be quick edits. I do have a app on my phone called UCut, and it's like you literally can like
You
cut
cut?
and paste it. Yeah,
It's not Cap
I
Cut. It's
believe
you
that.
cut.
Let me double check real quick while we're talking about that. Yeah, it's called UCut.
Okay, I don't think I've heard that one. Eh,
It's free, and it's kind of funny because it feels almost like a very cheap knockoff of Adobe. Sorry if that offend people, but it's just one of those things where it's just like, yeah, if there's a moment where it's like I'm doing something that's like I have to like do a quick cut of something just to get an idea visually how it's going to look.
yeah.
It's like I'll use that because once again, it's like I can't bring my laptop with me everywhere, so it's like if I'm doing something on like a in a car or on a plane or a bus, it's like
iPad. iPad.
the iPad, yeah. The iPad, I actually do stuff on there as well.
Yeah.
And that, once again, that's just one of those things where it's like, totally. The technology, the way it's going, I understand where some people feel that some things are kind of cheapened with like the way technology is. But for me, it's just like kids, they're not gonna know where to at first figure out like where the schooling's gonna go. They need to like, for college, for filming and all that. So it's like now when you think about it, it's like these kids that do TikTok, it's like, what are they doing? They're editing on their phone. They're learning skills that honestly that can translate to, something later where if they decide to become a filmmaker, it's like
Are
they
you
already know how to
are
edit.
you telling me that everyone's an editor and a filmmaker and a writer, an artist?
I mean, if they have the ability to go for it, who am I to say no?
I think everyone
Because
is.
yeah, there's still moments where I'm still in disbelief that I get to work with people like you and Colin and my friend Jordan and my friend Matt. It's just like I think for me, uh, with the first time I worked on a film, the reason why I got work on it was because I was working on Fat Kid Rules the World that I was an extra, and then I got to meet the casting crew and I got to meet more of the crew, and gr- I grown on them where it's like they like me being around and asked me if I wanted to help them take down a set, and that's how that went from being an extra to helping behind the scenes, and then yeah, just making the connections.
Nice.
And the kicker to that was that I didn't know about the film being made until my mom and I were at the hospital because she was there overnight. She had like some type of surgery done, and there was literally a film set happening a block away. And yeah, uh, I told my friend about it, and he looked it up, and then he signed up to become an extra for this garage scene that they did, and asked me to come if I want to come with him. And it's like, absolutely, I'm totally
That's how you
down.
got on there on the set?
Yeah,
That's hilarious. You
yeah.
like just
So
looking out the window. What's going on over there?
I was just looking down. I was like, "What's going on over there? Is there like some type of fair?" They're like, "Oh no, they're making a movie." I'm like, "What?"
That's awesome.
But yeah, so yeah, and for me, it's just like those are one of those moments in life where it's just like I knew I wanted to make films. I had no clue that I was gonna randomly walk on set, and then it's like, here I am now talking to you.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those like really lucky, blessed moments. And it's just like, I don't take it for granted. I appreciate every moment I get working with people because, like, it's something I've always had a passion for. So to be among peers that respect me and want me to help out, that means a lot because it's still in my head. I'm like, I just randomly walked on a set and now I'm just learning from these amazing people.
So if you're
So,
sounds like I mean, I'm thinking of our audience who could be people who have never been on a film set or is looking into trying to understand how do I get started or how do I approach this. I mean, from what you're saying, if I was listening to you, I'd be like, oh, okay, so find a group, find people who want to do some creative, collaborative, join the group. I think like 48-hour film festival is like one of the top ones, right?
yes.
Where you could just go, hey, I've never acted, but I'm willing to try, or I've never directed,
Yeah.
or I've never done this, or I've never, even being a PA, production assistant, just being on set and then seeing everything and how it works. I mean, that's where your knowledge starts to grow. And then you make that network and those relationships, and one thing leads to another, right?
Oh no, totally, 100%. Like that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's just like again, yeah, networking and connecting. There's nothing better, especially when you're trying to do films. And when you have a group that, if you're already among a group that has the same passion, you're just gonna increase your chances because when one person has the same passion as you and they find it, they're going to call you up too because they know that you're just as good as they are.
What's your vision of success? What does that mean to you as an artist, filmmaker, director, storyboard artist, actor? Like, what is success?
I think success for me is definitely the growing part because you're still doing it, which means if you're still doing it, that means that you're getting good. And the more strangers you work among, that means you're now finally like comfortable to the point where it's like, I am successfully able to make these. Now let's just see if we can keep going.
Yeah. What's on your plate next? What do you got going?
Currently, I am working on my comic book. Um, I have been working on two scripts right now. One, I got inspired by you with the whole Airbnb thing where I'm like, shooting at an Airbnb, that is
So
very
easy. I did. That's not my
it,
idea. I learned that from a director I worked with. Tim Earnhardt.
Really?
Yeah, he did it,
Okay.
and he got these elaborate uh Airbnb, like nice houses, like really like 3, 4, 5, 6 bedroom houses. And then we would make movies in them because they were like mansions, and you're like, oh, this is amazing. And so that's where that idea came from.
That is the most genius thing I've heard because, and that's, yeah, there's no words to describe how awesome it's.
You just have to tell you got to tell the owner, say, hey, we're going to shoot a film in here. Someone's going to die, but there's not going to be any blood on your walls or anything. I promise nothing's going to get stained or yeah. I mean
No, that's
that's what we did with
awesome.
Cousin. Was we told them we're gonna want to film. Is that okay? And they're like, oh yeah. But then little did I know they live in the basement. so so
Right.
when we're banging around and knocking things over and yelling and shouting, I'm like, I hope they don't mind. So I mean, we would give them a heads up. Hey, we're gonna shoot this scene. It's gonna get
Yeah.
really loud and everything. So yeah. So what's your experience
I,
with Airbnbs?
I experienced with Airbnbs beforehand. It's just like I like them more than hotels. I'm sorry. I like the environment. I like how it's just like the vibe is very homely because it is. It's a house. And I think for me, it's just like when doing Airbnbs now, I'm just like, okay, so what if I stay at this one place? It's like I like the idea of just like maybe I want to film here. I'll totally like message them like, hey, do exactly what you guys did because I think as long as people are open and upfront when it comes to how they're going to create a project, I think that they're just more they're allowing themselves to be accepted more by whoever they that wants to let them shoot at their house. And I think yeah, when the whole Airbnb thing is a game changer in my opinion because yeah,
Yeah.
the whole shooting seems like you're a millionaire and you're not you're paying like what maybe 600 lower than that like 300 to 600 a couple days. It's like
Yeah.
I'm going to use those couple days to shoot at least a good couple of weeks as the film was going on for weeks there.
I know someone who said they just went to Florida, Disney World, and they got an Airbnb, and it was huge. They said it had a game room, it had an activity room, it had its own pool, and they stayed there for like I think it was like a week and a half to 2 weeks, and this was like only
Wow,
$3,000. That was it. That
$3,000?
was it. I mean, a hotel for 2 weeks,
Oh my God, you're paying more than that.
and you have smaller space, and you have to share a pool with somebody, right? If they have a pool and then they have a workout area at the hotel, you're all sharing that with other people that you don't even know. Where if you get an Airbnb, it's all inclusive, it's all yours. I was
Yeah,
like,
like
that's awesome.
yeah, that's definitely a game changer for sure. Because like Airbnbs, they definitely have left doors open for anything now at this point. Because yeah, the whole idea of using Airbnb now to do a film is like I now don't have that in my back of my head where it's like, oh, that's going to be impossible. It's like, oh no, I'm totally going to take advantage of that now.
I realized I interrupted you when I said what's next on your plate. You said you were working on a comic book.
Oh yeah, so I'm working on a comic book, and then yeah, I'm working on two scripts right now. The one I was telling you that would be filmed at Airbnb,
Yeah.
but the comic right now I'm currently working on. I got done working on two issues already for my superhero comic called Joe. Uh, right. Oh yeah, I
Is
didn't
it
tell you
about
I got
me?
two comics. No.
It's about this
Oh,
Asian guy who wears a rabbit hat, has a podcast, and just
I
talks to
mean, if
other
I can make an
filmmakers.
animated series, I'll totally cast you as the hero. But no, the idea of the name was, you know how people say like average Joe or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So like the full title is Joe the Not So Average because he has superhuman powers, but like the inspiration for it is like think Superman
Yeah.
and Hancock. So it's
Okay.
like a,
Yeah.
a superhero that's depressed, not alcoholic. He's depressed. So it's like
He's
dark
not
comedy
perfect.
once again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So dark comedy once again. That's what that story is about. And I hit my writer's block slash illustration block.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it's the story is literally 3 issues, and right now I'm stuck on issue 3. So I took a break from that until my brain is just like, okay, let's wrap your mind around this again. So for me, it's like if I have writer's block or any type of block, it's like I'll just move on to something else. So I started working on this one comic called Mecha Gladiator, and
Called
the
what?
idea of it, Mecha Gladiator. So
Mecha
like a
Gladiator. Okay.
mecha, so like mecha as in like a mecha suit, like
Yeah.
mecha robots, like Japanese Gundam, all that,
Yep.
and Gladiator. I mean, Gladiator. So like, uh, it gives you the idea of what the story is, and for me, I've always had a love for 80s sci-fi movies like Blade Runner, Aliens, and I just like that idea of a futurism where it's like you could put a tape deck in and it will play a hologram. Like I just like that idea of uh,
Hmm.
technology that we clearly do not have.
Yet.
So the
Yet. Do
idea
you think
is
we're gonna get
definitely,
that in the next 5 years?
oh, yeah, we'll
You
see.
got the Vision Pro.
Uh, that is true. That is true. But yeah, for me, the idea is like it's kind of like a love story to like 80s sci-fi. So it's like you're gonna see like a sci-fi style, but from the 80s point of view. So like that retro future
Yeah.
that we never got with Back to the Future or
Okay.
Blade Runner.
Yeah.
So and it's definitely inspired by like anime, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse or Into the Spider-Verse.
Cool.
And
Are you ever gonna get into
uh,
animation?
I am actually working on that right now.
Nice.
It's I'm literally learning how to make a ball go from one end to the other. But
Yeah. What program?
I everything is on my iPad. So for my drawings, I use Procreate. That's a exclusive app for the iPad, and they just released Procreate Dreams. That is their animation version.
Wow. Okay.
And the
That's
thing that's
cool.
cool, yeah, and the thing that makes it amazing is that I can take the pins from my Procreate and actually drag them to the animated app version. So it's like
That's
all
awesome.
my, yeah, all my settings are still the same. That's like because they're cross compatible with, I can draw the backgrounds on my Procreate and then take it to Procreate Greens, and that's the background that will be in the anime.
Right. Right. That cross
So
platform. That's cool.
and for me, once again, it's just like technology. It's become a lot easier for people to get a hold of to do the things that they want, and it's not taking away anything from the people that have worked their butts off. It's just for me, I like it because I don't have the budget to print my own comics on a $5,000 printer or my posters.
Right.
But at least it's a lot easier to obtain the places that I can go to digitally transfer them to get printed. And for me, that's the one thing as an artist, it's like I'm always looking for ways of improving my skills and also being able to do it. And for me, it was just like, I'm not saying that going digital is better than drawing on a piece of paper and pen. I think though, when it comes to saving money, it's helped me out in the long run because I went through probably thousands and thousands of dollars of markers that sometimes they never got used. Certain colors didn't get used because I didn't need them for what I was doing with. So for me, it's
Yeah.
just like yeah, painting and drawing on paper and canvas, I will always do and enjoy. But for me, when I'm going on the go, where it's like I need to do storyboards or I need to like make commissions, it's like digitally, it's like it's at the palm of my hand where I can actually save everything in the size and format, and I'm still able to get the same uh finished job that I do on paper digitally then.
I was gonna ask
And
you.
it's like,
Well, as an artist, I've heard some people. I'm not an artist. I'm a graphic designer, but I'm a digital graphic designer. So I've never had the knack or skill to do anything on paper unless you give me a ruler. Um, but I know there's artists out there that love that feeling, the resistance of paper if they're using anything. And there's like, there's some kind of film that you can get for the iPad that gives you the similar feeling. Have you ever ran into that? Or like, are you a tactile type person where you have to feel that resistance?
For me, I like drawing on paper because there is this weird texture of just like when you're going in on it where it's like I draw with emotion. Like I like to if I'm feeling angry, it's like you'll see it in my pencil lead. It's like you'll see where it's like some of it like cracked or like I really pressed hard on it.
Yeah.
Uh I can't do that with digital because I will break the screen.
You can now.
Well, yeah, I can now, but I think for me,
Didn't like Apple come out with a new pencil that you can literally it's pressure sensitive and how you push
it's
and
super pressure sensitive.
you could change the
Yeah, and you can
angles and all that. I was like, what?
yeah, like it's called a barrel roll. So like you
Yeah.
could you can do a barrel roll and it'll actually like go into the motion. It's amazing. I'm probably not going to be able to use that until next year when I actually get my tax return again or save
Oh
up for
yeah.
a few more projects. But I'm excited for it to see how it feels. But like I don't think anything's ever going to replace the actual feeling of like taking a pencil to paper. Like that will never go away.
See, I'm glad I asked you that question then, because that's something that I know about artists, and I've heard some people talking about that. But so okay, let me ask you this then. As we're wrapping up, what is your favorite filmmaking tech and why?
Wow. I think my favorite filmmaking tech is probably, I want to say the Canon cameras. I love them.
Which one?
That's um, I love the Rebels. The Rebels for me, like yeah, the art line that I used to have. It
Used to
the way I
have. You
yeah,
don't have
bro.
it anymore?
No, I dropped it. Yeah, that thing. There was no saving it, and it was
Holy
also
smokes, you dropped it!
yeah. I
Note to
was
self, never
grabbing.
give Tyler my camera to hold.
I was like getting everything ready for doing the filming this event. And it was just like for some reason I had everything set out like lenses, tripod, uh, SD cards, and my camera. And when I'm grabbing all the stuff, I just grabbed the tripod first to put in the bag, and it at not looking, it just went and hit the ground. I was like, I
Oh,
hate my life right now.
that was a favorite camera of yours, the Rebel, Canon
Yeah,
Rebel. Don't they have
the
numbers?
Canon Rebel,
Is it just
they have
Rebel? I
numbers.
don't know my Canon.
Yeah,
I had one once.
it's like Canon Rebel that they definitely went up in numbers. I had like the five, but like maybe it was a five.
So you
I gotta relook.
yeah, Canon Rebel 5. I had a you ever heard of Canon? Was it a Canon T1? Is that it?
I think so.
A
Yes.
Canon
I
T1?
don't want to offend people that probably still use Canons more than I do. But yeah, no, like
Yeah.
I love the Canon cameras because the Rebels have definitely become more efficient with like people that just want to like, you know, go guerrilla style with filmmaking or even just like, getting the experience because they're so I'm not want to use the word cheap, but it's like they're
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 inexpensive.
affordable.
Yes.
They're affordable,
Yeah.
but
Is it
they're
a
not
C
cheap, but they're not
is
expensive.
it a CMOS? CMOS sensor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like the way it's like I don't know, I feel like they're more user friendly for people like me because I feel like I'm usually Homer Simpson when it comes to certain things. So it's like for me, it's just like maybe because I just been using Canon cameras, it's just like the Rebel was just like, okay, I'm not as good as my friend who that you is a professional photographer who has I cannot remember the name of the Canon that he had, but it's like it was definitely for photography purposes and also filming. And he knew the ins and outs that made
Oh yeah.
like he knows a gun.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just like
He
the
knows
Rebels. It was
again.
just like
Where'd that come from?
I'm trying to give like a I don't know what I'm trying to say,
let me
like
let
a
me
comparison.
let me tell you a Canon story. When so my wife is a photographer, and before I met her, when I was single, I went out and I wanted to get into photography, and I bought a Canon like T1 or T2 or whatever they were. And you know the
Yeah.
bokeh? I
Yes.
had no recollection of what that was and how you did it and how to make it. and I could not figure out how to use the camera. Now think about this. I made a movie last year.
Yeah.
This is way before I had a Canon, and I could not figure out anything about it. I was so frustrated, and I sold it. And I sold it to a
Oh,
guy,
really?
a friend of mine, who I used to work with, and I saw his pictures, and I was like, "Man, those are amazing pictures." He's like, "Yeah, I used the Canon." You so I'm like, oh. So so it's never the camera; it is the person. So it took me, and
Yeah.
then once I got married, I had my wife, who's a photographer. I bought a Nikon, and from there, I had to learn. I learned my ins and outs, ISO, and all that, aperture. It's like, oh, that's how you do bokeh.
ISO, yeah, ISO for me, that was definitely a learning curve because my friends I used to film with at church is like they have like the church's cameras and they explain how all this stuff worked for me
What did
because
they
they're more
use?
camera people. They use the what are these? They're using they're using the black magic.
Again, up in the world.
Yeah, it was like being able to use that was just like this is really weird and cool, but it's like they explain the ins and outs. Like I still don't understand certain things because I'm just not that type of person.
Well, you gotta play with
Like
it,
it,
right?
yeah. But
Yeah,
being able to play with it and getting an understanding, it's just like there's a lot of respect that has to go with the cameras because like yeah, they can either give you the best shots in the world or they can give you the worst shots in the world, and it all depends on how you treat it.
yeah, absolutely. I've experienced that, 100%. I have a confession. I've never used a black magic. I've never. I think I've held one. I think I've been on a 48-hour where they had one, and I was like, hey, and I didn't ask them to look at it and hold it, but I've seen them before, and I was just like, okay, and I don't know. I think everybody they use them. I think cameras are all kind of. I mean, it's a it's a tool, and they all use the same type of settings. You just have to know how to get to the settings.
Yeah,
So
I feel like that's a challenge, especially for people like me. Is it's like I know that I can hit record. I just got to figure out how to hit record. When it comes to cameras, it's looks like that's the one thing about filmmaking. It's like you can always depend on someone that knows how to use a camera. So that way, it's like I trust you and you trust me.
what about you? You know how to use a camera. You have a phone.
Oh, I told you how to use a camera.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
What do you shoot with
I'm
now
just saying
then?
like right now I am just shooting my phone until I get the money to get a new camera.
Is that what you used on your last film? Was your phone?
Uh, oh no, I use a Canon cinema camera that my friend shot.
There you
Yes,
go.
and that's actually the goal for me. I love the
Yeah.
Canons, and I think for me that's just the brand that it's kind of like my friends that play Xbox, I play PlayStation. So it's like I'm used to a system.
It's
I'm going to stick
hilarious.
with that system.
You are hilarious. So I have an Apple iPad, but I have an Android phone. I love Canon cameras, but I only play on a Sony game player. There are many different brands.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I feel like I'm in Wayne's World where it's like I'm not trying to sell out, but it's like, hey, I got a Samsung. Hey, I also got an iPhone, iPad.
Why do you have an Android and not an iPhone? Because you know your iPad and iPhone can talk to each other. Just
I
saying.
know that. I think for me, when it comes to the phone, Android, I just feel like I am more flexible with things. I don't know
Interesting.
why.
I let's see that issue. I took a where I work, you have to have a work phone, and I'm like, why? I'm never gonna use it. So I thought to be diverse, because I have an iPhone, I got an Android. And let me just tell you, I hate it. I hate it 100% because I'm like, I think even like what was I was trying to do? I listened to a voicemail. I was like, how do you listen to a voicemail? Like it'd pop up and then I'd hit the number, but for whatever reason it would call. I'm like, I don't want to call him. So I'm listening to the voicemail.
I can say right now, the one reason why I have my Samsung,
Yeah.
it has a stylus that I could use to draw on the phone. Don't let that be. Yeah, I'll definitely have that in consideration too. I think for me, I if I'm not pushing myself creatively, I feel like I'm not doing anything. So I feel like for me, when I push myself to these limits of just doing filmmaking to writing to drawing, it's just like I'm seeing how far my creative limits can go, and it's like right now, currently, yeah, I'm not seeing a problem, and so far it's been working out for me so far.
Keep
So
going.
why stop?
That's right. Well, thank you, Tyler. I appreciate your time and insight. And again, we will link all his information into the description field, and feel free to leave a comment. If you want to reach out to Tyler, if you want him to do your film, if you want him to do your storyboard, or if you just want to be on one of his films, if he needs a PA and you want to get your feet wet to figure out what's going on, or if you love comics, I mean, list goes on and on. And we'll keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very.
Thank you for having me, man.
Hey, thank you.